So good morning, everyone. I just slept at 3:30 a.m. last night, and I was up by 6:30. So I have more energy than you looks like. Good morning. So thanks for taking out your personal time today. I know it's Saturday, and for many of you, it's a non-working day, including me. But what brings you all here is the passion for Atlassian, passion for the team, and that's why we are all here. And I want to heartily welcome every one of you on behalf of Atlassian and Atlassian community Bangalore. So I'll go through the agenda for today, and I also want to thank our key sponsor Atlassian, Atlassian community Bangalore, as well as our co-sponsor Amivoids. So this is our agenda. So we'll talk about who are we, and then we'll have a year in review about Atlassian community overall worldwide, and then we'll also talk about how you can get a free course from Atlassian University. Are you excited? Great. And then we'll have a tea break, and guys who are watching me live online on Zoom, you should have tea at your place. And then we have an amazing session directly coming out of Atlassian, supercharging Agile and DevOps workflows with Forge. How many of you know what is Forge? Hands up, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lesser the better. I think that's where Atlassian is going to open the Pandora's box for you today, right? So you're going to know what is Forge and how you can contribute to the Atlassian development ecosystem. And then we have another amazing, insightful session. This is also coming directly from Atlassian. So this is about data-driven decision-making in the RISE connected enterprise. So we'll talk about a lot of enterprise reporting functionalities and features of Atlassian products. And then we have lunch break. And post-lunch, we have another session from Emmy Boyds that's about making every release count with the power of release notes. And post that session, we'll ensure that we'll keep you entertained throughout. Post that session, when you walk out, there's a surprise swag waiting for you. Not the one which you already got, but there's another surprise swag. So please stay connected, stay tuned till the end of the session. So who are we? We, all of us. So we are the largest Atlassian community in the Asia Pacific region. Yeah? So this is our number. So we are, last August, we were around 1,784, and now we are 2,200. This was taken at yesterday midnight, maybe around 12:30. Now we might have grown by another few numbers. So thanks once again for being part of this great community. So these are our community co-leads for Bangalore. We have Vishnu. Where's Vishnu? He must be busy checking your ID cards. And then we have Nagaraj. And then it's me, poor guy. So that's about us. And then we have, this is our stats, we have completed around 83 events since 2013. These are all quality events. When I say, we might have had a lot of hosted sessions and all that. These were in-person events that what we have hosted. So we also run SOS WhatsApp group. Okay, this is supposed to be used only when you are in SOS, not like, hey, how do I create a workflow? How can I create a project? How do I add a custom field? Please no, right? So we have a connected network of professionals in the Atlassian space, where if you have any queries, imagine you're using a DC and you're doing a weekend upgrade and the server doesn't come up, you can just leave a note there. So someone who is passionate like you will try to respond, or like us will try to respond, okay? So if you would like to join the WhatsApp community, sorry. Yeah, it's Bangalore_India. Okay, so you can send a email with your name, phone number, and your company name. Send an email to Bangalore_India@atlassiancommunity.com. We'll be happy to add you to the group. And no wishing messages and all that. It's just purely meant for SOS. So I'll quickly run through our Atlassian community review for 2023, how the community has been, and the facts are amazing. So we have 71% of questions that have an accepted answer within 48 hours. Unbelievable, right? 71% of your questions are answered on the community, right? You might have questioned that, what happens to the remaining 29%? That's answered by Atlassian support. Yeah? And then we have 343 local chapters for Atlassian community events across, around the globe. So I want to thank all community managers for maintaining this huge number of groups. So where is Tamanna? Do we have Tamanna here? Okay, she's also checking the ID card, looks like. So yeah, thanks to Tamanna. And then all the entire community manager team. And then we have 30,987 people who joined online community groups. So you can also join. You can just go to community.atlassian.com and you can register there. You can start posting your questions or even answering those questions which are posted by like-minded community members like you. And then we have 267 is the number of likes that most popular article of the year got in the community. And then we have 37,927 attendees across the Atlassian community worldwide. And I think today we have about 150, 200. And then 843 Atlassian community events hosted globally last year, that is in 2023. And then, I just want to call out that there's no I in the team. So coming to the course, right, there is university.atlassian.com. So the most, I would say, used course or popular course there is Jira Fundamentals. And then there are 3 new certifications that were added last year. And there are 4,087 Atlassian certifications awarded. How many of you are Atlassian certified here in this room? There's quite a few. Great. And 553,778 training sessions that were explored this year. Amazing number, right? So you can see how many number of professionals are getting trained in the Atlassian stack. And then 444 is the number of people who learned live with Atlassian University at Las Vegas 2023 Teams event. So here's the Atlassian University Unleash offer. I want to thank the Atlassian University team to giving up this offer for the Unleash event. So you can get Atlassian DevOps Essentials. That's the course. So you can get this course for free. Go to university.atlassian.com, and it's costing about $39. And when you check out, you can add this code, Unleash free course. Okay, take a photo or make a note of this. It's called Unleash free course. That's a coupon code. In case, I just want to give a disclaimer, in case if you run out into any taxation issues, this was reported by a few of them. I'm not sure if someone has reported it from India. When you check out, it's going to ask you to pay the sales tax. If there is such a moment, you can create a support request with Atlassian. Go to support.atlassian.com and submit a request saying that when I check out with this coupon code, I've been asked to pay the tax. And they will ensure that it won't ask you. Okay? So there's a lot of lessons there. Atlassian DevOps overview, Git primer, integrating Jira with your code repository, let's say Bitbucket, and view deployments in Jira, Jira automation with DevOps tools, DevOps change and incident management, integrate Jira with other DevOps tools. Quite a few to learn there. And this was a quick intro session, and we have another 20 minutes to 25 minutes until our next session. So until then, we'll keep the coffee bar open outside. Maybe 5 minutes down the line, I think they should have the coffees running, tea and coffee. And we also have our sponsor, Amoeboids. They have a booth there, so you can just go and visit. And you can also use this time for your networking session. And people online, please stay tuned. We'll play some music to you so that when the music stops, it means we are back. And we'll be back sharp at 11:15, and we'll have an amazing session at 11:15. So thank you so much. Have a great day. I also want to quickly call out Sajit. He's Sajit Quizmaster Nair from Delhi. Sajit, I have a small favor. I need a small favor from you. So Sajit runs amazing, I mean, he's part of the Delhi NCR Atlassian community. So he runs an event. It's called QuizWiz. It's a program which is very regular. Yeah, you can talk about QuizWiz. And along with that, actually it was very impromptu. He has no clue what I'm about to say. So Sajit is going to ask you a few questions now. And these questions are all Atlassian related questions. I hope you're all Atlassian users. And for every right answer, we'll give you some swag. Is that okay?
Yeah. Hey everybody. Hey everybody. I'll keep on saying it. Hey everybody. Hey, there you are. My name is Sajit. I am the community leader for Delhi Gurgaon, and this was not planned at all. Girish just pulled me from a conversation with my friend Sanket. But this is what I do on the side along with my day job at a company called Trundle. I run a show called QuizWiz, which is a virtual gamification of trivia. That's what it is. We basically bring people from multiple segments of Atlassian ecosystem. You can check out Atlassian community, QuizBiz, just Google it, just YouTube it, you'll find it. This is one of the episodes that we did a while back. I think John, if he's here, he actually went through this massacre where his team lost. But we now have a semi-finalist. So what we are going to do is just run through some of the questions. The quiz actually has general and Atlassian trivia. So we'll skip the general trivia and just do Atlassian trivia and see how many of you know actual Atlassian trivia. Yeah, 10 minutes should be fine. We'll do 5 minutes. So I'll show a question. Anybody who knows the answer, raise your hand. And maybe Girish can give you the mic, and then if they give the right answer, do they get any prize? Girish has a special prize for you guys. So yeah, let's see. So I'll just click on the question and I'll show you the question, okay? So can anybody tell me which or what made Atlassian one of the most fastest growing companies or innovative companies by a rating agency called Fast Company? So I've hidden something there. Yes, we have a certified expert in there who's trying an answer. Sorry? Gartner. No, not the agency. Something that Atlassian does or Atlassian has hidden it.
Trello.
Not Jira, not Trello. Sorry? Not Confluence. So let me help you out. It's not a tool. It's not a marketplace.
Collaborative.
Not cloud. Not work from home.
Collaborative.
So I'll tell you why I do this. I do this because it makes me feel good that smart people don't know the answers, right? Not EAP, not cloud. Not ship it, close though. Sorry? Agile, no, not agile, not methodology. So I'll give you a hint. Yeah, I'll give you a hint. Who said point A? Somebody said point A, right? Yeah, so that's the right answer. So it's point A. Do you know what point A is? So why don't you please tell everybody what point A is? What? Come on. You know the answer, right? Yeah, you know the answer. Anybody knows what point A is? Don't Google it now. Okay, so have you heard of Atlas? Have you heard of Beacon? Have you heard of Jira Service Management? Not Jira Service Management. Who can tell me another product from Point A? So Point A is the incubation program inside Atlassian where they prototype products, release it to beta customers, but when it's ready, then it goes to general availability. So all these new tools that you're seeing, Jira Work Management, Beacon, Atlas, Compass, all of these came from Point A. Point A is a program. Again, you can Google it now and you'll find more about it. I think there is only one project in Point A right now, which is Beacon. Apart from that, everything is out for GA. But yeah, that's one of the questions. So nobody got that. Let's see if you guys can get this question. Please. What are these app categories in the marketplace? Sanket, you're not allowed to answer.
Please raise your hand. We'll come to you with the mic.
Forge and Connect.
No, Forge and Connect are not categories in the marketplace. Bug tracking and DevOps. So bug tracking is close, but not DevOps. There you go. Project management and test management are the official categories on the Atlassian ecosystem. On the marketplace, to be precise. All right, let me see if I can find a couple more Atlassian questions. What have I hidden here? So there are 3 tools that I have hidden. Yes, we have one answer. Not advanced roadmaps or plans. We'll have somebody else try. Jira, which Jira? Jira software is right. Trello isn't. Confluence is right.
Jira Align.
So Girish has a
Align.
That's right. So Jira software, Jira work management, and Confluence are the 3 tools which bring business and software teams together officially in Atlassian in this specific piece. Let's see one more question. Who can tell me answer of this? So what is more than where we work? It's how Atlassian works. What's the way of working? Yeah. close. There's a very specific name to it. So Atlassians are not allowed to answer. You guys know that, right?
Remote work.
Not remote.
Work from anywhere.
Not. There's a name for work from anywhere. There you go. Team Anywhere is the official name. Do we have more time, Girish? We can? Okay. Only on the mic you'll get this swag. All right. I might. So, do you guys want to do general trivia also? All right. Yeah, that's nice. So, who can tell me the answer to this? Identify these movies from the minimalist posters. A mic, please.
Lord of the Rings.
One is bug, which is in red. Bug
Sorry.
track- bug
First
tracking.
is?
No, the middle one, which is in red color, that is bug tracking.
Oh no, these are not Atlassian questions anymore.
I
These are
think
movies. Literally movies.
the first one is the Lord of the Rings.
First one is the Lord of the Rings. All right. Second one, third one. Not Top Gun. Mike.
Stealth.
So again, you have to raise your hand.
Second
Are
one
there
is
any more mics?
Interstellar.
Se- so-
Interstellar.
That's right. Second one is Interstellar.
Third one is the Grand Budapest Hotel.
It's not the Grand Budapest Hotel.
The fourth one is Shape of Water.
You cannot just keep trying. Come on, you have to pass on.
Fourth one.
I'm sorry, just kidding. You
Fourth one
can.
is Shape of Water.
No, not Shape of Water. So we have two more that somebody can guess.
The third one is the family man.
No. Do you want to try the fourth one?
No.
No.
The social network.
How
third
is
one.
that the family man, by the way? All right. We'll talk after the session. I want to know which family are you talking about? Like what polygamy is happening here? Anyways, let's move on. This is not recorded, right, Girish? Thank you. Yeah.
The fourth one is Kalapani.
Not Kalapani. Maybe the image is not very clear. But no.
Third one could be 51st dates or.
Who said 51st dates? Yeah, that is right. 51st dates. If you calculate, there are 50
yeah.
dates. Anybody wants to guess the fourth one? Steven Spielberg legendary movie. It's who said Jurassic Park? It's right. It is Jurassic Park. The classic glass shaking scene. Yeah. Oh, we had the answer at the end there. So please reach out to Girish if you've answered on the mic. All right. Do you have more time? 3 more minutes. All right. So let's do speed round. So the quiz also has something called a speed round. So let's see who can answer. So you can just shout the answer, right? Because we just have 2 minutes. Clavicle is a technical term for? Just shout the answer if you know. Collarbone, there's the right answer. In Harry Potter, what allows a drinker to transform into somebody else? Polyjuice potion. Stage name for the singer Curtis Jackson. 50 Cent. In what year did World War II end? Girish can tell. Nice. What movie did DiCaprio won the Academy Award for? The Revenant. Which country is known as Land of the Rising Sun? Address of Sherlock Holmes. 221B Baker Street, London. You have to add the city name also, by the way. Okay. Tell me, what layer is the Earth's atmosphere closest to? Troposphere, not stratosphere. Yeah, that's right. Let's move on. This is, again, let me move on to the next one. Let's see a little toughest. Largest organ in the human body. Who said liver? How is liver the largest? Skin. What year did World War I end? I think right now we're just going along. Girish has a very tricky prize-winning criteria. Only people wearing S-size t-shirts can answer and get prize with this. So I think all of us should just go out. Anyways, let's see the next question. Let's talk about this one. What game features colored blocks falling from the top of the screen? Are you small size? No. Yes, that's right, Tetris. In Harry Potter, which spell produces light? It's not luminous. It's not an inverter. It's Lumos. What does NASA stand for? Okay. So how many T-shirts do we have? Now let's.
L can answer.
Okay. So people with L can also answer apparently. All right. So I'll make the question a little tougher so that Girish can actually give out a T-shirt. Okay. I'm looking for a person who was the founder of Dark Horse Records, made handmade films, and was credited as the first person who made a first ever charity single with a song called Bangladesh. He has 12 albums, then a lot of other things. Who is that person? We are just looking at anybody who Googles very fast. So that's what's happening here. Sorry? That is right, George Harrison. So you can just keep one. That's good. I think, are we out of time? Do we have more time? We still have time? Okay. So this is very interesting. Please don't Google this because it took me time to create this question. Okay, so somebody was talking to somebody, right? They say, it's a terrible time to be 21. It's an awful time. We had Vietnam, drug problems, civil rights, and it's so tough to be in the 50s. But the other person said that it wasn't that fun, it wasn't that bad because nothing happened in the 50s. And that conversation became the framework for something very legendary. That person is a musician. And multiple variations of that person's art or creation has inspired a generation. What is the artist or who is the artist and what did he create? It's a musician and a song, obviously. Not John Lennon. Not another brick in the wall. A song which literally transcribes everything that happened in that decade. Not Summer of '69. Good guess though. Which Bob Marley song talks about 60s? Come on. 60s, we're talking about 50s, we're talking about 60s. Does anybody know Fall Out Boy? The band Fall Out Boy. They made a version of it recently with everything that happened in 2022. I think we are out of time. I don't think anybody got this. But the answer is Billy Joel. We didn't start the fire. If you know that song, it's literally everything that happened in that decade. I think we'll do one more question so that somebody can get a T-shirt. Yeah, so just tell me who these two guys are, who are creators of something, who is a fearless and cunning warrior, and the other one is like a very superhuman strength person who drinks magic potion. That's right. We've got a trivia nerd in the house. Good one. Thank you. So if you want more, check out Ace Quiz Wiz. You'll find it on the Atlassian community virtual section. Thank you for that, Tamanna. And yeah, we are on YouTube as well. We are right now in semi-finals. We'll continue it later in the day as well, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajid. Think we have a lot of fun here. And then now, with that, we are continuing to get into the next session. It's a supercharging Agile and DevOps workflows with the Forge, which is by Rohit Eddy. He's a principal product manager from Atlassian. And we have a Srinivas Rao, senior engineering manager from Atlassian. Please welcome, guys.
Hello, can you hear me? All right. Thanks for waiting through that delay while we are getting things set up for the remote audience, who I hope can now follow along. Just 1 second, there's a bit of echo which I will try to put down. All right, I think we're all set now. So thank you all for coming out on a Saturday. This is actually my first Atlassian community event, and I had no idea we had such a large, passionate group of folks here in Bangalore, so it's really nice to see all of you here. Quick introduction, my name is Rohit and I'm a product manager on the Atlassian developer platform team. And co-presenting this session with me is Srinivas, who will join me up on stage a little later. And he's an engineering manager on the Atlassian developer platform team as well. So quick introduction about the session. We're going to take one of the oldest modules of Forge, which is of Jira, which is the workflow module. And we're going to be talking about some new ways to sort of supercharge your workflows using the Atlassian developer platform Forge, which I'll talk about a little later on. And how we're going to run the session is we're going to give a high-level background. I'm assuming most of you are quite familiar with Jira workflows, but for the benefit of those who may not be as familiar, I'll just give a quick run-through of some of the key concepts. But we'll be focusing the majority of our time on some use cases, some cool use cases, including one using AI and ChatGPT at the very end, which is pretty interesting. And then we'll also try to keep about 5-10 minutes at the very end for questions. So with that, let's just kick things off. So I'm going to start off with something which is should be quite familiar to most of you in the room, but if you aren't, these are basically issue statuses. In fact, these are the default issue statuses that you get when you create a new software project in Jira Cloud. And what they're describing is the statuses that an issue has to sort of move through as it goes through the workflow. So in the example that I'm showing here, you might have a very simple software development process where you add an issue and it goes into your backlog, and then at the start of a sprint, you pick a few of these issues, you move them into selected for development, which means you're going to be working on them during the sprint. And then when a developer actually picks them up and starts working on them, it goes to in progress. And then finally, when it's complete and you're shipping valuable code or to the user, it sort of finally transitions to done. Right? Now, the movement of these issues from one status to another is the term we use for it is transitions. And it's sort of the way transitions work in Jira, if you're in the Kanban view, you simply just drag and drop one issue from one column to another. Or if you can go into each individual issue and you can just manually update the status from one to another. And this is essentially what constitutes a workflow. So a workflow essentially in Jira is how you sort of you describe the flow of that an issue goes from start to finish, from creation till it's completed. And the example we're showing is a very simple one, but there's a lot of flexibility involved. So Jira admins can sort of set these up in any way with transitions between multiple statuses to sort of mimic the business process that they're trying to sort of emulate. And this could be internal processes. Jira, again, is very flexible. You can use service desk. You can use it even to sort of map out your recruiting process. We've sort of seen that flow a lot. Now, one of the really cool things in issues and transitions is that you can actually do a lot of customization and checks during these transitions. I'm going to briefly talk about 3 just to sort of set context for some of the use cases we're going to talk about later. The first one is essentially called a condition. And a condition is a check we do to determine if a user can even attempt to sort of execute a transition. So a couple of examples to make it clear for you. You might want to sort of set up a condition where an issue can only be transitioned from in progress to done if it's done by the person to whom the issue is currently assigned to. So for example, a developer is working on an issue and they're writing the code. They're the only ones who are allowed to therefore at the end of the process move it from in progress to done. So that's one example. Another example is a validator. Now a validator is a kind of check that happens and tries to validate a transition in real time as it's being attempted. So a quick example here is you might want to, when an issue is being transitioned, check if certain field values are set, or you might even want to check the format to make sure that the value in those fields is being done, is sort of being set up correctly. That's quite a common validator. And then finally, the third example is something called a post function. Now this isn't an actual check on a transition, it's just a flow which sort of executes after an issue has successfully transitioned. So an example of this is when an issue is transitioned, you might want to at the end make sure it's assigned to someone else. or you might want to sort of clear a field or set a field automatically to a certain value. So that's essentially a bit of quick run through on issues, on transitions, and some of the checks, conditions, validators, and post functions. Now, if you're familiar with Jira, you'll know that there's actually quite a lot of flexibility built in to the workflow. But today's session, we're going to actually focus on what you can do outside of the built-in stuff, which we're trying to say, well, it's all well and good, works well, but what if you want to customize it even further? Right? Now, the way you can customize it even further is using the Atlassian developer platform. And for now, all that means is this allows you to write essentially in JavaScript, add bits of custom code. Okay. All right. Thank you. So all this does is allows you to write a bit of custom code to sort of to do any sort of custom logic, and we'll jump into some examples a little later on. But it's actually really easy to sort of have very customized conditions, validators, and post functions. Right. So with that, a bit of an introduction to Forge. I think during the intro, Girish asked how many of you are familiar with it, and there's a handful of you. But for those who aren't as familiar, Forge is Atlassian's app development framework, and it's a low-code platform. So this is something I won't talk too much about. You'll sort of see it during the run-through. But it's actually a platform that enables you to sort of very quickly customize certain aspects of Atlassian products. One of the key callouts here is that the apps themselves, the code that you write, it runs on the same sort of infrastructure that Atlassian products run, which means it's on our compute. And likewise, if you're using, if you're sort of storing any data, it's being stored alongside the other data that Atlassian products use. The reason that's important is because the same level of security is sort of then applicable to these code snippets, to these apps that you're going to sort of see. And finally, today's examples are going to be very focused on the workflow module in Jira, and that's just a small slice of what Forge can do. There's actually more than 40 extension points across multiple products. So you're seeing Jira today, but this is equally applicable on JSM, on Confluence, on Bitbucket, and on Compass. Right, so with that, let me get I think we've got the initial part out of the way, and we'll now move to the more exciting use cases. For that, I'm going to invite Srinivas on stage.
Hello, can you hear me? Thanks, Rohit, for setting that context up beautifully. So far, what we have seen is, just to quickly recap, Forge is this Atlassian's platform for extensibility, extending Atlassian products from their core offerings and to build your own custom use cases. Right? So now I'm going to take you through a journey of building a Forge app. Right? We're going to focus on two use cases. The first app is going to be using post function, basically hooking up a function after a Jira transition happens to do something for you. And second is a validator. But I thought before we get into the meat of the presentation, maybe here is a little bit of trivia. I know it's going to be hard to match up the energy of our chapter leaders here, but have you ever wondered why is Jira called Jira? Right? Until I joined Atlassian, that question never came to my mind. I'm sure there are a lot of Jira aficionados here, like experts and diehard fans. You would definitely know. But for the uninitiated who are not really familiar with how the name came to be, here's the little backstory. Right? So back in 2000s, when Scott and Mike, they were trying to build up an IT services company, they were using this tool called Bugzilla for bug tracking. And Bugzilla sounds like Godzilla, which translates to Gojira in Japanese. In Japanese, Godzilla is Gojira. So when they built this product, they dropped the word Go and called it Jira. So it's like Bugzilla to Godzilla to Gojira to Jira. And I think that is how the dictionary-worthy word has born, right? So now let's get into the meaty part, right? So let's start with building our first Forge app. So a bit of context before that. In Atlassian, we take incident management very seriously. We have categorized all these incidents into different severities, and we have automated the entire incident management flow with a lot of tooling. Like we use Ops Genie, for example, for paging. And we use Status Page for communicating the updates of the incident to our partners. And we use Confluence to document our PIR reports. And all of these tools are tightly integrated into a custom workflow. But today, we're not going into all of that. We're going to build a very lightweight use case, which is basically when an incident is opened and transitioned to resolved, we're going to add a suggestion. We are going to make a cocktail suggestion to the incident manager. Some of you who have experience of managing incidents would agree with me. Incidents are a headache. Incidents are a little bit of torture, right? So there's a lot of clerical work involved with incident management. So after the incident is resolved, we're going to make a cocktail suggestion, and higher the severity of the incident, stronger the cocktail that we're going to suggest. By suggestion, what I mean is, we're going to simplify this problem for the purpose of this demo. We're just going to add a comment on Jira saying, hey, you've done a great job and you deserve this cocktail. So that is the automation we're going to build in probably less than 10 minutes, right? So we're going to use Jira workflow, the post function to modify the Jira workflow and then add this customization. As soon as it is transitioned from open to resolve, a comment will be added. And that's the Forge app we're trying to build. To get started with any Forge application development, you'll have to use Forge CLI, right? So for the ease of navigating, I'm going to play a recorded video and just explain my way through. It's going to be a little bit fast-paced, but after we get to a logical point, I'm going to take a break and recap and explain what has happened. But now is the time basically to become alert and kind of stay focused, right? So the hard part is hitting. So the first step of creating an app is invoke this forge create command. Once you invoke this forge create command, then it'll ask you to give a name for your app. Will ask you to make a choice for what is the type of app you're building, for what product are you building. Once you enter these key details and hit enter, it's going to generate all the boilerplate code necessary for you, right? So the boilerplate code will have the template functions. It'll have a little bit of code already set up for you, the project structure set up for you, right? So let's just open that up in our IDE and see how the boilerplate code looks like, right? So there is a manifest.yaml which has metadata about the app name, and the description of the app, and what are the permissions that this app is seeking, all of that stuff, right? So if you see there's a description field, we'll just modify that to suit our need, suggest a cocktail based on an incident severity, right? So because we want to post a comment on the Jira at the end of this exercise. We're also modifying some other changes like moving on to the new latest runtime. I'll not go into the details of what runtime and all of that is. For the purpose of this demo, it's kind of safe to ignore. For performance improvement, we have made the change. Now when you go to index.js, there's a little bit of boilerplate code there, right? So the function accepts issue as an argument, and also it accepts transition as the other argument. The transition has two important properties. Where is it transitioning from? Where is it transitioning to? So based on that states, you can dynamically take a decision in your application logic. So just to lay out, just to do what we set out to achieve, let's lay out the plan for how we're going to code. First, we want to determine the priority of the issue. Is this a high severity? Is this a low severity, etc.? And then we have to suggest a cocktail based on the severity. If it is high, it's going to be a particular cocktail. If it is low, it's going to be some other cocktail, etc. And then at the end of it, we have to post a comment, right, on Jira. Hey, you have finished resolving an issue. Here is time to enjoy and go get this cocktail. And DAC, which we call developer.atlassian.com, which we fondly call as DAC, is the landing page for all your Forge development, right? So it has lots of Forge information on how to get started, how to kick off your app, etc. But it also has these APIs information. Here in this case, we are interested in add comment API. So we pick up the import statement, drop it in our code, and run npm install, which is basically a dependency manager. it picks up the Forge module, the Forge package that we want, and installs it here. We'll see why this is important, right? Why the Forge/API is important as the example progresses. Now, let's also copy over the JSON, because when we want to post a comment, you need to have a response body in your post API call, right? Let's also copy the boilerplate code and drop it into our app we're building. So line number 25 to 31 is basically discussing about the visibility of the comment. Who should see the comment? Once we post, hey, you deserve a cocktail, who should see? Here it says only administrators will, let's chuck that out because we want the comment to be seen by everybody, right? And let's also adjust the description with the cocktail recommendation. You've done a great job, you deserve a cocktail. For now, let us not worry about severity. What is the severity of the incident that is closed, and what is the cocktail we're going to recommend? Let's just recommend a static cocktail for now, right? In step 2, we will determine the severity and then adjust the cocktail recommendation accordingly. But for now, it's going to be a static recommendation. So I'm a teetotaler, I don't drink, but I'm told martini is a good drink. I mean, some of you who have it would probably agree. So for now, we are going to go with martini recommendation. If you see line numbers, yeah, if you see at the bottom of this JSON, we have added that comment. Yeah, we have added the API call, right? So let me pause it here a little bit. I'm trying to see if I can pause. Oops, it's proving tricky to pause. But yeah, as it progresses, let me explain. In line number 28, we are making an API call to Jira to basically post a comment on our behalf, right? But the magic is, before we deploy, we also need to do one more thing. We need to add the permissioning for this app, right? So in manifest.yaml, there is a permissioning thing on what is this app going to do? Is this going to do a write operation? Is this going to do a read operation? The app has to declare how it is going to modify Jira data. So we go to manifest and say, hey, apart from read, we're also going to write because we need to post comment. So we are declaring ourselves, we're going to do a write. And then when you do forge deploy, what happens is you don't have to have elaborate build pipelines or anything like that, right? So just forge deploy will run a bunch of lint checks. It will validate your app. It will package your code and push it to Atlassian infrastructure, right? Once you deploy, your code is now pushed to Atlassian cloud. Now you also need to install that app, right? Install that app onto a Jira instance. Here in this case, this is the test instance we have set up, and we're saying, hey, please install that on Jira, right? So now the app is installed, but it's not hooked up yet, right? If I open this, nothing is going to happen. Before I see that in action, we have to go to this workflow admin screen, and for the for the resolved state, we have to go and add our post function. Hey, when this state is met, when Jira transitions from open to a resolved state, you have to do something. This is the hooking up part. This is the integration part. So we go to post function. There are already lots of built-in post functions there, right? But we are not interested in some of the built-in post functions. We want to hook up the app that we just built. If you go there, at the bottom of the screen, you could see Forge Cocktail Suggester. We select that and say add. Once you add, at the top of it, you also need to publish the draft of this workflow. Once you publish the workflow, now for that particular project, your post function is hooked up. Anytime you transition a ticket from open to a resolved state, this function is going to execute, right? So let us see if that happens here. Let's move it from open to resolved state and hope that a comment is posted, and voila. See, at the bottom you could see a comment is automatically posted. You deserve a martini, right? So let me try pausing this if possible. Yeah, I'm able to pause. So I need to explain a little bit of what happened here. I know it's too fast, too much, right? Before we proceed further into the app, let me back up a little bit and recap. What is the problem we set out to solve? The moment a ticket is transitioned from open to resolve, we want to make a cocktail recommendation to the incident manager, right? That's all we wanted to do. Now, what did we do here? First, we kicked off the app development process with Forge create. As soon as you hit that command, a template code is created for you. Now we've copy pasted an API from developer.atlassian.com to be able to add a comment on the Jira, and then made a few modifications, right? After that, we said Forge deploy. Your code is automatically deployed to Atlassian Cloud. And then we said Forge install. The app is installed into your particular instance. And then we went into the particular instance and then made that integration possible. Hey, when the state transition happens from open to resolve, please invoke this post function. That is the integration we did on the Jira instance itself. That's an admin screen. Once you did that integration, anytime you move a ticket from open to resolve state, this post function will trigger, right? I would like to also unpack the black magic that's happening here, right? Where is this code running, right? Who's hosting this, and where are the build steps, and how did the installation flow happen? If my app is maintaining a metadata or a storage, where is the storage going to be stored? So that is what Rohit meant by, a hosted environment. Forge is a hosted app development platform by Atlassian. What that means is, you don't need to own the storage, you don't need to own the compute, you don't need to own observability. All you need to have is an idea to create an extension or to create a customization or Jira or Confluence or Bitbucket or anywhere else. And storage, app deployment, app installation, observability of the app, all of that is taken care for you. That's basically Forge. Now let's continue with the example a little bit, but I'll speed track this to a different timestamp. Yeah, so far what we did is basically make a static recommendation for any incident that goes from open to closed, open to resolved. We are just making Martini recommendation, right? But let me pause here and explain a little bit of what else is happening. In the video that I've dragged, what else have we done? If you look at line number 4 to line number 9, we are making another query to Jira, right? Hey, this is the issue key. If you look at line number 5 closely, we are giving an issue key and asking it to give the Jira response. So we make a call to Jira, get the details of the issue, and in line number 14, we are determining the priority of this issue. Is this a high, is this a medium, or is this a low priority incident? And line number 14. And based on that, we're going to make a recommendation. For low, it's going to be Shandy, and for medium, it's going to be rum and coke, and for high, it's going to be martini, and for this is bad, which is like Sev-Zero, major outage, the recommendation we're going to make is Long Island iced tea. Again, I'm a teetotaler. I mean, all of these drinks don't make any sense to me. But for those who drink, could probably make, are able to relate to this, right? So we make this array based on the priority, and now we're going to go back to our Jira instance, and then reset the ticket that was previously resolved. Let's also reset the priority to this is bad. And then let's try and resolve this ticket again, and let's see what happens. Now the decision is dynamic. The cocktail suggestion is dynamic. So it should recommend an appropriate cocktail here, right? See that? Nice work, you deserve a Long Island iced tea. That is because the issue severity is set to high. Let me pause here a little bit. If you've noticed, after we made the change, right? Fetch Jira details and then make a dynamic decision based on the severity of the issue, we haven't deployed the code. What happened? How did my local code go to Atlassian infrastructure and automatically work on Jira instance? So the other keyword that Rohit used is, it's a rapid app development environment. What we mean by that is, you don't need to, every time you edit the code, you don't need to deploy it, right? You can run something called Forge Tunnel, and your local changes will be reflected on your Jira instance automatically. This is only possible for development time environment, so you could just code here on locally, and the changes in the app on Jira are automatically reflected, right? So you don't have to deploy and then spend that extra time there. So let me move on. Yeah, so obviously this whole cocktail thing is a bit of a silly example, right? We don't really do that in real life use cases. Actually, I don't think it's that silly, given this day and age. I think we should be able to hook it up with Swiggy or a Zomato and then actually make that cocktail suggestion happen, right? an incident manager can get a cocktail delivered, right? Or like, a plate of samosas or a hot coffee delivered after the incident is resolved. Or, at the minimum, we could send out an email with Zomato coupon code. Anyway, that's a little bit of a silly example. Now, what are some of the real-life examples that, real-life use cases that we can solve with this kind of functionality, right? Post function, which is ability to hook up a function after the state transition has happened. For example, we could create custom paging logic. What we mean by that is, if the incident is F0, then immediately page all the incident managers in Atlassian, right? Because the incident warrants something like AWS infrastructure is down, or something like Jira is down for some of our customers, or such a massive incident warrants that kind of response. We could do things like that, right? Create a custom paging logic. Or automatically post incident comms, right? After the ticket is transitioned from one state to another, at every state, we can take a step. We can probably publish notes on a Slack channel, or update a Confluence page, or send out emails to our partners that, hey, the ticket has moved from one state to another state. You can imagine all sorts of cases, right, with post function. Or you could synchronize data with other systems. Maybe you're managing all of this metadata in another system, Confluence or another document repository, and you can start dumping all your incident information into that. So with post functions, the possibilities are endless. Now on to example number 2, right? This one is going to be a little light. Will not be showing all the code and bore you a bit. So the second example that we're going to do here is implement a validator. There we've implemented a post function, something that happens after the transition has happened, an after effect. But validator is a pre-effect. Before a transition has to happen, you validate, you make certain validations, and then only when the validations fail, allow the transition, but otherwise block the transition. Here, we're going to do a small thing. We are going to build a small use case. But before I get into the use case, I want to give a little bit of context on Scrum versus Agile. I know a lot of people here are pros in this area, but let me just refresh your memory, or for those who do not know what Kanban is, let me give a little bit of context. In the Agile world, we have two different methodologies. One is Scrum, the second one is Kanban. In Scrum, what we do is we take a complex project, break it down into smaller chunks, and then we pick each chunk and execute it in a time box fashion, which we call sprint, right? Sprints usually last for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 week, depending upon the teams. On the Kanban, the other side, you take the complex project, break it down into smaller chunks, but there is no time boxing. You just have a queue of work, pick up from the queue of work, and execute one by one. But there is a fundamental tenet to this approach. In Kanban, one of the fundamental bedrock principles is to never allow work in progress to exceed a particular threshold. Work in progress, too much work in progress is bad. And that's a very ambiguous statement, right? So we have to unpack that and understand why work in progress is bad. Kanban actually means visual card in Japanese. I think there's a lot of Japanese culture seeping into software. Visual card. So why is work in progress bad? Let's understand this with a manufacturing example, because Kanban itself as a concept emerged from Toyota, the car manufacturing company, all right? So imagine they have lots of unfinished cars that don't have wheels yet, cars that don't have windows yet, cars that don't have engines yet. These are all cars in the making, right? The godowns are full, but all of them are with unfinished product. This product can't be sold and can't be monetized. Now what's the problem with it? At some point it will be monetized, right? There is a problem. Unfinished, too much unfinished product is capital expensive, it costs you money. Second, it takes lots of real estate. Third, it rots, right? The product deteriorates over a period of time. What you would want to do in manufacturing is the work in progress should be minimum and the finished goods should be a lot, so that you can actually make the transaction and recover your money. So any unfinished product as such is bad. Now you might be wondering, how does this translate to software? Oh yeah, there is a tangible good there, it will rot, it need to be sold and all of that, but why is it a big deal in software? If you think carefully, it's a problem in software too. If you don't release your features in an agile fashion, in an incremental fashion, you have delayed feedback. The earlier you release a feature to your customer, the faster you get feedback. Second, the more you batch the requests or features, you are increasing production risk, right? The bigger the change in production, the higher the reliability risk, right? You want to incrementally deliver features to your production environment and not as a bulk thing. So because of these reasons, even in the software, the work in progress limit still exists. So there's this tiny little feature in Jira. When the work in progress exceeds a particular limit that you have set, the column turns red. For example, in my Jira project board, if I have set 4 or 3 as the column limit for this, if there are more than 3 tickets, the column is going to turn red. But I feel, that's not enough, right? Turning red is a very soft limit. Now, the point is, the problem we are trying to solve is, can we turn this soft limit into hard limit? Can we effectively block transition? If there are 3 tickets in work in progress already, we don't want any more tickets into that queue. You have to finish one of them before picking up another task. So the app that we are going to build is a validator, right? You can't move a ticket from development to work in progress if there are already 3 of them. So like I mentioned, because we have seen the previous example in detail, I'm not going to go that detail here, but just going to show a snapshot of the code. So again, the objective is, when you move ticket from selected to in progress, we want to implement a work in progress limit validator, reject the transition, not just show a soft signal with a red color, with the column turning into red, but reject the validator and say, hey, there is too much work, you have to finish the existing work. Let's see how the app building works, right? Like previously, we continue to use the same code. We have added a Jira workflow validator, right? And on the right-hand side, you could see there's barely like 10 lines of code. Let me walk you through the code, right? From line number 67 to 73, what we're doing is, we are basically fetching all the Jiras that are in this project that are in work in progress state. If you see in line number 68, it's a JQL. The JQL basically says, give me the tickets with this project code and from this project and status as so and so. And then at the bottom, we have in line number 80 and 81, we have the validation logic. Hey, if issue count is total is less than 3, then fine, allow the validation, return the value to true. And then if the issue count is greater than 3, then block the transition. Hey, there's too much work in progress, you can't transition from one state to another, right? Let us, but for this code to be effective, like I mentioned previously, you either have to run forge deploy, which packages this code into Atlassian infrastructure and then applies to the Jira instance, or you can run forge tunnel, which allows your local code to be synced to the Jira instance and execute this functionality for you, right? So let's see this in action. So let's change the projects and where we have lots of tickets and try and transition them. Because we haven't done the integration, if you transition to 4 tickets, as usual, the column turns red and gives you a soft warning. But this is not what we want, right? So let's reset the tickets and go back to editing the workflow. Now we'll go to the admin screen of the workflow, and there we are going to edit the transition, which is basically for this mobile project, right? Let's go to, these workflows can be separate for each project, right? So let's go to the mobile project and edit the workflow. When you're editing the workflow, you have the option to add a validator. Let's click on in progress and then say, I would like to add a validator for this. And there are lots of custom validators already, but we want to choose the one that we've just built with about 10 lines of code, right? And at the bottom, you could see work in progress validator. You choose that and add, and as usual, you'll have to publish this draft. Once you publish this draft, the validator is effective in your project. Let's say publish, and it's effective. So now when you try and move the Jira tickets, ideally it's going to, it has to reject. Let's move the 4th ticket, 3 tickets is fine, but when you move the 4th ticket, the validator is run and the transition is rejected, right? It said, hey, there is too much work in progress, you can't make this transition happen. Right, okay, that's a very simple example. Let's also go through what other use cases we can build, right? For example, we can build all sorts of validations around fields. Hey, don't accept this ticket for development until there is an assignee, until there is a definition of done, until there is a story point, right? And until there are screenshots if it's a bug, right? You can imagine all sorts of possibilities. You can build lots of validations on your tickets. That is one. Second, you could integrate other systems into your workflow. What I mean by that is, for example, when you're trying to close a ticket, you want to ensure there isn't an open PR or there isn't a build that's running, right? If there is a build that is running, or if there is a PR that is open, the job isn't done yet. Or you could ensure there is an architecture document written, something like that, right? So you can integrate into other systems, query data from them, and take a call whether validation has to be allowed or not. So you could do that too. Or you could build compliance logics. For example, in some European countries, by law, you can't be working on a weekend. By law, that is by law. Now you could say, if it is weekend, don't allow the Jira transition to happen, right? Or if it is a public holiday, you can't really start working on Jira ticket. You could build compliance tickets like that. Or don't allow a ticket to be closed until there is QA sign-off, until there is peer review, or until there is a testing strategy attached to it. You could build all those compliance checks as well. Yeah, before we head into the third app, let me just back up a little bit and recap again. So if you want to start a Forge app, you just run Forge create. It creates the boilerplate code for you. You make a little bit of changes, calling an API or making a decision, and then you say Forge deploy, and then you say Forge install. That's it, just 3 steps, 3 CLI commands, and your code will be up and running in like probably 10-15 minutes once you're through with the basics. So that is why Forge is a very low-code, rapid app development platform. But apart from Forge, there are also other ways of extending Atlassian products. For example, there is something called Jira Automation, which is a no-code, right? This one is a low-code, but that is a no-code environment. There, it allows you to drag and drop a few blocks and build a workflow. For example, you could say, hey, if this happens, then do this. And for example, if a ticket is transitioned, then send an email. That is a flow that you could build with Jira Automation with just drag and drop with 0 code. However, the fundamental difference is Forge offers you high degree of flexibility. You could do lots of custom logics, right? You could pretty much do anything. Let's say in the cocktail example, if you really want to integrate with Zomato, maybe it's going to be a little bit hard with Forge automation, Jira Automation, but you could do with that Forge. So you can write complex apps and complex logic with Forge, but if you have a predetermined set of use cases, Jira Automation is a good bet too. Yeah, I hope you understood a little bit about how you could build apps in a very easy way. And that's it from me. I'll hand over to Rohit now. Thanks.
Thank you, Srini, for sort of taking us through those 2 examples. There's one final example I want to take everyone through because it's my favorite, and it's also got some cool AI logic attached to it, which is pretty interesting. So just to set up this example a little bit, this is an app we're building. Again, it's for a very sort of a real-world practical use case, and that's to do with sort of user stories. So most of you, again, must be quite familiar with sort of working in an Agile environment. And in an Agile environment, we place a lot of emphasis on how our user stories are written. And so shown here is one of the most popular templates. If you sort of just take the selected for development example, as a user, I want to be quickly notified of security patches so that I am secure. And this has 3 components. As a user, where you're describing the persona, and then you're talking about the feature itself, which is the security patches. And you're also explaining why the user would benefit from this feature so that they are most secure. Now, again, this is the best case scenario, best practice. The reality, however, is that often at times you're in a hurry, or people maybe aren't very familiar with how user stories are to be written, and you get essentially shorthand like this, where they just sort of put the feature name, and then everything else is left for interpretation. And what happens here is when a developer actually goes ahead and tries to pick up the story, they need to probably contact the person who wrote the story to get more details. Hey, who is this for? How is it going to be used? Right? So one of the ways in which we can actually enforce that stories are written in a way which actually are self-explanatory is through using an app. And for this, we're going to use the third type of validator, which is essentially a condition. So in this specific example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a condition so that only user stories that have good summaries are going to be able to be transitioned from the backlog into selected for development. In the interest of time, I'll sort of just quickly show you a screenshot of how this happens. So in the same app, in the same manifest file, we're just adding, this is actually a Jira workflow condition. And we have a key name description. Now, the one change here to the previous examples that Srini showed you is that in the initial setup, I'm not going to write an actual function, but in here we actually have a feature called expression, and what this allows you to do is in a single line, actually tell what you're trying to do. You don't have to write a separate function for it. So if we just quickly look through here, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's saying, look at the issue, look at the summary, and then match it to this regular expression, right? And so what I'm doing here is I'm saying, is it in the form of as a X? I want to do X, so that X. And I want to make sure that all stories are written in this format for this condition to be passed, right? Now, obviously, that's a very quick and easy way of doing things, but then there are obviously some problems with regular expressions. So they're quite, they're quite strict about the format. And it's not true that, you have to follow that specific format for a user story to actually contain useful information. And therefore, because it's 2024 and now we have ChatGPT, let's actually go ahead and use artificial intelligence to sort of see if the user story actually is written in a way that makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm not going to step through this in great detail, but one quick recap on what a condition is. A condition is actually evaluated before the transition, right? So as and when an issue is viewed is when the condition is transitioned, and the condition is sort of verified, and it's sort of verified, and it's a value of true or false is set up. So in order for us to use AI, we're going to follow a slightly different flow. The reason for this is today when you use AI tools, ChatGPT, for example, you're not guaranteed an instant response. It can take a little bit of time, and there is a bit of a failure rate. These tools are constantly being improved. And so what we're actually going to do is make use of a different feature in Forge, which is essentially a trigger event. This is very similar to webhooks. So basically what we want to happen is anytime a Jira issue is either created or updated, I'll skip through some of this. What we want is the Forge app to be invoked, and we want the app to go ahead and make a API call to ChatGPT, and then we'll have ChatGPT respond with a Boolean, which it sets to the isStory property, and then it adds a comment. It either will say, yes, the story is well-formed, or if it's not well-formed, we can actually ask ChatGPT to give us very specific feedback about how to improve the user story, right? So with that, we'll step into the prompt. So obviously, all these LLM tools, including ChatGPT, work off prompts, and the response you get is dependent on how good your prompt is. We haven't spent too much time sort of editing the prompts. I'm sure a lot of you folks here can actually even get a much better response, but this works for this example. And so I'll sort of go ahead and play the video. So we have an example here, the same Kanban board. And as sort of Srini mentioned, in order for you to get this condition set up, you have to kind of go into the transition and select the condition. We have the regex one set up, so I'm going to remove that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the AI condition that we quickly built. This took us 10 minutes, I'm not sort of stepping through it. And then you go ahead and sort of publish the workflow so that it's then active. And now that it's active, we can kind of go back to the Kanban board. I'm going to pull one back into the backlog. Now, when you open up the issue, because I have updated the status, that's actually an update. And that update triggers the app. And you see a response from ChatGPT that, hey, great job. This is a well-formed user story. Let me go ahead and now change the summary to one which is less than ideal. It's a very sort of a simple summary which doesn't really make sense. And now when I sort of save that, that's an update as well. So ChatGPT is going to run again because the summary is updated. And now it actually tells me, if you sort of read the summary, you'll see that ChatGPT actually is very specific. It sort of says it's unclear what the user wants to achieve by tweeting. So it's super specific based on the summary itself. It's not some boilerplate that it sends back. So it's actually very, very actionable feedback, right? And now, if I don't address this feedback and I attempt to sort of try to move, you'll see that it's actually not allowing me to sort of move it into selected for development. So until I address that, it will continue to sort of block me. So that's a quick example. I'm sure a lot of folks in this room must have played with ChatGPT. You probably have a lot of use cases that you sort of want to sort of use it for. One example we've sort of shown you. Another really great example is sort of when you want to do summaries. This is something ChatGPT is really, really useful. It can take large volumes of text and sort of create a quick TLDR or a summary. The other use case that we think we're pretty excited about is sort of actually using AI to sort of solve common requests. I think in the world of sort of service management, this is something that's been attempted in the past, but until now it's been very sort of clunky. You can tell you're talking to a machine. But I think tools have now evolved to a point where you can actually get really good responses. And so we think that's going to be a big area for development sort of going forward. So with that, we hope this has kind of given you some taste for the kind of customization that you can sort of do with the Atlassian Developer Platform Forge. If you want to learn more, you can obviously go to go.atlassian.com/forge. You can get the keynote, including the full code examples on Forge workflows. And Srini and I, you can connect with us on LinkedIn. We're also going to be sticking around for the rest of the session, so feel free to catch up with us during the event. And if we have a couple of minutes, do we have time for any questions, or should we? Let's take one or two questions. If there's a microphone, if someone wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. And oh, I see someone there. Srini? There's actually a few. Srini, you want to pick? Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
So when we write this code that you have shown, right? So if something doesn't work, or if we have written some syntax mistakes or something, if the flow is not going well, when the status has changed and whatever comments we have written, so if they're not appearing, so is there any debugging thing that we can do to see our mistakes in the code?
Right. So when you do Forge tunnel, basically the local code is being run on the installation, and there it'll run in verbose mode and tell you what is wrong. For example, the API call failed. There'll be a payload there why the API call failed, or if there are linting errors, it'll show, hey, there's a linting errors or the syntax errors in the code. So when you run tunnel, that's your development feedback loop.
So my question is regarding the Forge, that the Forge give me a capability to connect my Forge-based web services or Forge-based webhook to external cloud-based functions like Azure Functions, Lambda, or Google Compute, where I can use those entities to make it my more specific things, and even connect it to other applications like Microsoft Teams, Slacks, and all for notification purposes.
Sorry, is that a question? Yeah, I mean, when you write that function in Forge app, it's actually running on AWS Lambda, but you're right, in the Lambda itself, in the function itself, you can write integration logic into all these tools. You can integrate with Bitbucket, you can integrate with GitHub, you can integrate with Microsoft Teams, Confluence, Opsgenie, Status Page, any tool that you want. But the compute logic that we have shown in Forge is actually running as a AWS Lambda. That's all happening within the Forge perimeter. That compute is hosted for you and you don't have to worry about it.
So we can also, it means after your Forge code is implemented, we can also forward the request to other applications as well for external purpose.
Correct, that's possible, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, in the example we showed, that's how we're calling ChatGPT. So from the Forge function, we're making a call to ChatGPT, getting the response and sort of showing it as part of the issue.
So the boiler template you talked about, how is it like, if you need a custom one which is not available in the Atlassian cloud?
Okay, so if you're referring to example codes in Forge documentation, there are a lot of examples showing, okay, if you want to use hosted storage, this is how you could use. If you want to use UI components, this is how you could use. There are lots of example snippets. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, but if you want reference material, there are lots of examples that's already written in the documentation. You could take inspiration from the existing examples and build your own custom logic.
And that will be private and secure. How do we, from
Correct.
security perspective, how is it differentiated?
Correct. All Forge code that you upload is in a secure environment. It's not visible to anybody. Only, when you list this app, when you want to make this app public, it's an explicit step. By default, is not public. Then you go on to distribute it on marketplace. You have to list it on marketplace. Hey, I want other people to use your app. Even then, only the app's binary will be used, but your code will never be shared. Your code all resides in Atlassian infrastructure and it's secure by default.
Yeah, by default, it's only for your instance. If you choose to maybe share it with others, that's an explicit step that you will go and select.
Okay, and another question. Other than Jira, which other Atlassian stacks tools that we have this Forge?
So Forge is available on Confluence. So in addition to Jira, it's on Confluence, it's on JSM, on Compass, and also on Bitbucket, yes.
And I think mostly for CI/CD DevOps, CI/CD would be an exciting ones to know. Other than Jira, I think if we need to know more, do we have some links? Is it the same one which you have mentioned there?
If you go to, the Forge thing, you'll sort of get information about all the different modules on different products that can be customized.
Basically, the names, kind of a boiler templates and snippets for, say, CI/CD tools that you talked about, especially from the DevOps perspective.
Yes.
Okay. Your one-stop shop would be goatlassian.com/forge. Our team actually maintains the developer.atlassian.com portal as well. So there, the offerings of Forge, what capabilities are available today, what platforms you can integrate with, all of that is written out well. We could also chat during lunch if you need more information,
Sure.
but otherwise, goatlassian.com/forge would be your best bet to start with.
One last question. Now, in case if there is any template that we think that you need to host on your instance, what's the process?
So we have a community, what we call CDAC community.developers, and it's basically where people sort of go and share boilerplate code. But we have actually had requests in the past where someone's written a tutorial or an example they want to sort of share with the community. So we can chat about that. Right now, the place it gets shared is on the community side.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your questions. We are unfortunately out of time, but like I mentioned, Srini and I will hang around, so please feel free to come and chat with us. Thank you.
Wow, it was a nice session and there was a lot of questions. Thank you guys. Yeah, and especially on our Forge app, it was really great. And I don't know, it's a coincidence. Yesterday we were working on the WP limit actually. So in the cloud, so it's a coincidence. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, and with that, and thank you Rohit and Srini. It was a nice session, thank you. And the next we have our data-driven decision making in Rise of Communicated Enterprises. So which is by Suresh Raman, is again Head of Product of Data Engineering, Atlassian. Welcome, Suresh.
Thank you, Srini, Rohit. I especially like the examples of the Long Island iced tea. Hopefully, unfortunately, I can't offer that. I also realize I'm sitting between you guys or I'm standing between you guys and lunch, so nothing to be done. I'm there. How many of you guys have heard of Atlassian Analytics? I mean, I know Jira has dashboards, I know Compass has analytics, but how many of you guys have actually heard of the product called Atlassian Analytics? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 people. I don't know how many people are here, 200 people. So, okay, that's roughly what we see. Okay, I think we were at 8 out of 200. So let's resume from there. So Atlassian Analytics is a reasonably new product from Atlassian that went GA last year in April. And mostly this session is to talk about that and the benefits and the advantage of that product. But before that, let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Suresh Raman, Head of Product Management for Data Experiences at Atlassian. I've been at Atlassian for 4 months and counting, and excited to be here. Thank you for the trivia prize, Sajid. And I'm following you guys, Rohit and Srinivas, so no alcoholic references, but we'll see. Hopefully we are used in some of the alcoholic beverage makers, though. Okay, so we'll talk about how you can leverage data insights to unlock the value of the work you're doing, how you can leverage insights and connected data to get more value from, to see what the value is being created in your business. The nature of the session will be, I'll probably take 10 minutes to talk about the problem statement itself, and then get into why Atlassian Analytics and how this makes a difference. Before I do that, AA is available for enterprise customers. It's not available for standard or premium customers, so it's one of the reasons why we encourage people to upgrade or to buy enterprise licenses, and this becomes available to them. So the problem is today, when you're doing work in your organization, regardless of whether it's Atlassian or anywhere else, there's a mountain of data being created across the different tools your teams are using, your employees are using, your customers are using, your partners are using. This, in effect, is the exhaust, the output of all the work that's being created, and that data that's being generated represents all the work being done. It represents the value that's being created. It also represents where things are blocked, where tickets are stuck in in the middle section. I forget what the in-process section, right? Where there's friction. If you know how to look for it, if you know where to find it, you can identify that friction. But bottom line is, you have to wade through this mountain of data to really unlock the value, to see where actually good stuff is happening and where stuff is getting slowed down, where teams are under capacity. And really the goal of my product, my team, is to figure out, to help you get to those set of outcomes. Where is the value creation happening? Where is the friction occurring? Now, once again, as you are leveraging SaaS products, your data is splintered across these different SaaS products. You may build your own thing. Your data is locally residing, and it's siloed, it's separate, and it's disconnected. So bottom line is, we see the emergence of things like data lakes and teams coming together and putting the data together, connecting it after the fact. And there is no way around it but to say, hey, how do we connect this data? And you can't force people to use the same set of tools. You can't force people to use one tool only. Everybody wants to use the best of breed. As a result, you don't have clarity on what is happening in your organization. You lack the insight as to how are your teams performing? How are your teams performing against plan? And how are your teams performing against historical precedents? So we need to get to a point where we go from disconnected data silos to the connected enterprise. And this, I'm going to talk about a little bit of Atlassian's data philosophy on the connected enterprise. I think Srinivas and Rohit talked a little bit about it, alluded to it a little bit. The goal is, how do you get from this disconnected data silos to a connected enterprise? So what I'll talk about in the rest of the sessions is, how does Atlassian think about connecting your data? How do you get more leverage from that data? And then when we talk about Atlassian Analytics, what are some of the things we are thinking about building, what we have recently launched also? All right. So typically when you're talking about connecting your data, you're talking about, the things that comes to mind is, my data is disparate, my data is not connected. Let's hire a bunch of data engineers. Let's go to AWS. Let's build a data lake. Let's build this expensive infrastructure that requires us to re-engineer how things were connected or need to be connected and makes logical sense. and then derive insights and data and decisions from it. All long-winded but necessary. I'm sure that's the reality of what's happening probably for 80% of folks in this room or beyond that also. Atlassian's philosophy is slightly different, and it kind of influences a large part of how we think about data and how we want to serve the enterprise. That's why we're calling it the connected enterprise. So let me introduce you to the teamwork graph. Essentially, it is the connected ecosystem of all our products, how our users use our products during the different phases of work, through the discovery phase, through the execute phase, through the operate phase. And as they are generating data, the systems are connected, the tools are connected. And so and once the data gets exhausted and is emitted, the data is already connected to each other. So for example, as you're in the discovery phase, you may be using Jira Product Discover or some of third-party tools that within the Atlassian ecosystem. We are able to capture that data through a connected way. And then when you're in the execute phase, as you're writing code or as in your design phases and you're deploying things, once again, you will be leveraging either an Atlassian product or a third-party product, which once again, through the idea of hooking these systems together, through the tools, not necessarily the data itself, the data comes together as one place. And likewise in the operate phase of the system, of the workflow. Where this shows up is the data gets piped to what is known as the Atlassian Data Lake, which is also a co-offering along with analytics. And the data gets piped into the Atlassian Data Lake. And on top of that, you have Atlassian Analytics as a very powerful visualization platform that allows you to view charts and dissect the data and do analysis on it. And this analysis allows different operators and different personas to view data at different levels and analyze data at different levels. So if you're a exec, you can analyze the data for the same metric at the org level, for example, cycle time. Or if you're at the lowest level on the field, you can start as a developer, you can use median cycle time for your team, for your sprint. Now, Atlassian has the notion of taxonomies, where we have come up with a way of standardizing how our metrics are organized, how dev teams can get organized behind a certain set of metrics, for example, around cycle time. And so we have come up with the notion of also effectiveness scorecards. Now, these effectiveness scorecards allow you to see what is the median cycle time. So basically, you can organize through Atlassian Analytics how your sprints are, how your work is getting done. And the idea of how much of the time is spent in running the business versus changing the business. So how much time are you spending in support versus how much time are you spending in innovation is something that allows you to do, that Atlassian allows you to do, but using the notion of standardized taxonomy. And then this allows you to drive more effectiveness scorecards. And the power of Atlassian Analytics over here is not just about showing the scorecards, but also providing annotations on what these scorecards mean and recommendations on what are some of the actions you can take. So zooming out a little bit, I talked about the notion of standardized scorecards. However, your teams may have their own way of defining these buckets of work. Your teams may have their own definitions of what cycle time means, which may be very different from how Atlassian defines it. So that allows that, sorry, I'm skipping slides. Within Atlassian Analytics now, you have the full control of leveraging through low-code drag and drop mechanisms of bucketing pieces of work, bucketing how you can bucket different pieces of logic together to say, hey, this is my definition of a cycle time, or this is my filters. Or you can write fill from SQL to define these things. We recently launched a whole leveraging Gen AI, natural language to SQL editor, where you can just write in English language and it generates SQL. Now, in terms of data sources, Atlassian Analytics allows you to pull data not just from Atlassian sources, but also once the data is available, in runtime, you can actually match this data or join this data from your own data sources. So these are some of the data sources we support today, in addition to whatever we have coming in directly from the Atlassian systems of record. And this is what we have. I'm not going too deep into some of the examples or demos. And some of the other features that we are starting to launch, or we are about to launch, is we recently launched the DevOps scorecard. So this is an example of all the connected data we get from our Agile and DevOps family of products. And this allows you to measure how your teams are performing across different parts of the DevOps lifecycle. This was launched in December, and I think we are still rolling this out to customers. And then we are in the process of launching what is known as Chart Insights. So as Srini and Adroj showed, leveraging Gen AI to not just author stuff, but also once a chart is available, it can tell you what are the insights available that can be gleaned from this chart. So over time, this will even power direct insights, and we even skip the part of viewing charts altogether. The next is a chart command palette where you can describe the kind of analysis you want to see, and it shows up a list of potential chart options that you can look at to drive the analysis. A common feature that we get, that we get from enterprise customers is all of our data is in our own data infrastructure, whether it's AWS, Azure, or whatever. So this is all fine, but all my data from Workday and other systems sits in my own infrastructure. So how do I instead get the Atlassian data there as opposed to whatever I've been describing so far, and I don't really need to use Atlassian Analytics. So for that, we are recently launched, and we are still in early access, a data sharing capability where once the data is available in the Atlassian data lake, you can export it and export it to your own data infrastructure, and you can run your own BI tool on top of it. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is all of this sits outside the product experiences. So this is not sitting within Jira or sitting within Confluence or anything. These are all everything I talked about is a separate experience. But over time, what we want to do is modernize some of our existing analytics that we have within Jira, and then and start embedding these. So for example, I think in the early demos, you had Scott talking about JSM. So we recently launched assets reporting within JSM and replacing some of the existing dashboards that we have within Opsgenie also. And yeah, this is this is Atlassian Analytics. I'm very happy to take any questions. Thank you.
All right. That's great, Suresh. Thank you for the great presentation. So my question is, as a Scrum Master, so how do you think will I be able to kind of say, take out the key metrics as a one single dashboard through this? So is there a way where from that direction to help out all the Scrum Masters from the Agile community, is that step being taken where all those whatever key metrics, so typically I would say the sprint burn down chart and let's say the planned time versus utilized time for the each stories. So that customizations are all already part of that particular product development, or it is something where it's only still in the preliminary phase where are you open to take any updates from the community?
No. So I don't think there is any standard definition of, for example, burn down or the burn down chart metrics. Let me put it that way. because every organization, every company will have its own definition of what this velocity means and what the burn down short metrics means. So to large part, Scrum Masters or admins or whoever is leveraging these metrics or defining these metrics have the flexibility already to define these metrics today. That said, if as you start using the product and you start seeing, gaps, absolutely, we're open to taking feedback and seeing how we can incorporate this into our roadmap. But I think to a large part, what we are seeing is no two organizations are alike. In some cases within an organization also no two teams may be alike just because of the nature of what they're doing. So we expect to see like the metric name may be the same, but the calculation may be wildly different behind the scenes to account for whatever it is that's unique to their life cycle.
Do you support Teradata?
Do we support Teradata? I don't think so. I'm not aware of us supporting Teradata as a source.
I saw that many of the external third-party tools, but I couldn't see the third party. I was just wondering,
yeah.
Do you still have, or you have it, or you're going to come up with your roadmaps in future?
It depends on how many requests we get for supporting Teradata as a source, to be honest. But if we have a lot of customer requests of supporting Teradata as a source, that's something we would build. But the intent of us enabling data from some of these, because this is the most common set of physical locations where we've seen data being stored. And the magic of what that does is, even if you have all your Atlassian data, and let's say in your, I don't know, S3, you have Workday data, and you want to do some quick analysis of, people who have churned in the last 50 days, what were some of the issues they were working on, for example. That's something you could quickly do, or you could even export that data to Google Sheets and pull that data. It's not meant to be very heavy, because we don't want to support like a large mass of data from some of these data sources, because all of this is running in memory. Unless you now want to actually pull the data into Atlassian, which then goes back to the original point I was making about connect the tools itself. So I don't know enough whether we today connect, for example, Workday data within Atlassian's ecosystem, but the recommendation would be, hey, can you connect the Workday data within our third-party ecosystem and then bring that data directly in through the Atlassian pipes into the data lake.
And my question next would be on the BI. So I know that you did mention some of the BI, but I couldn't see the real examples. Like my specific questions would be, would it support Tableau?
We don't, sorry, I didn't understand. Would it support Tableau meaning?
Basically, Tableau is
yeah,
one of the BI. Is it something which is supported along with this analytics?
No, we don't, you can take the data from the Atlassian data lake. I told you, right? We are building a data export functionality. So the Atlassian Analytics itself is a BI tool sitting on top of the Atlassian data lake. And so that's our tool that we offer for analysis and BI and things like that on the Atlassian data. And now if for some reason the tooling is not good enough and you just need to use Tableau itself, the capability we are building out is a data export functionality where you can say, I want to export all this data into my data warehouse, my data lake, where Tableau may be the BI tool being used.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. Export and portability concept. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Suresh, with that, can I extend something? So, I'm working in a ANZ. So this is one of the largest enterprise customer to the Atlassian, and recently we are moving to the cloud. So especially this Atlassian Analytics, how it is useful, right? Extending to your question. We have 3 cloud sites. It's not a one Jira we are using. We are using 3 Jira instances, and all connected through the data lake in Atlassian Analytics, one tool. Why? Our executives ask, is there any centralized report we can get it?
Yeah.
See, I want to see the cycle time of my whole department, but here we have 3 Jira instances. How can we get it? So this is a brilliant tool which we are using at this moment, Atlassian Analytics. So you can get all the data in one place. And to extend SQL, So we connected through our on-prem, one of the on-prem vendor engagement instance. So from there also we are pulling the data and showing in the one analytics dashboard. And the way it is giving SQL queries, right? So we can give a simple language, English language, and
English
it will convert as a SQL queries. That was brilliant, actually. You can try that. And it is available only for, as Suresh said, for enterprise customers only. Yeah? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we have one more question.
Hey Suresh, my question actually is on the last thing that Sandesi said about just being on enterprise. So enterprise, so there are two restrictions, right? So you have to be 800 users plus and you have to be on annual subscription model. You cannot be on monthly. So is there any plans of analytics having some trickle down version on cloud premium, let's say 1,000 users plan or something like that, which are on monthly, but yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Yes. So a lot of the tech that's been used here, we are planning to modernize and embed a lot of these capabilities for premium customers also. And that's kind of, so there'll be the notion of fixed, flexible, free, where you have fixed dashboards and the pricing may be slightly different, but then you have flexible and free, meaning fully customizable dashboards. I would say enterprise, what I just talked about was like the fully customized version where you can do whatever you want, you can go to town with it. But there's flexible where you can build a certain set of global dashboards that are across the board. And it goes back to some of the examples that you were talking about. The global dashboard is cutting across all your products. It's like a single pane of glass across everything. But then the flexibility is that from site to site, you may choose differently because, you know, for example, like he said, everybody will have a different definition of a cycle time or velocity or whatever it is, or you may want to have a different visualization itself. And all of these will be embedded within the products. You don't need to come to Atlassian Analytics. So that's the vision. It'll obviously, it's going to take some time before we get to replace all the Jira dashboards and over time, but we'll get there. Yep.
Yeah, any more questions?
Hi, this is Sumalata here. I mean, there is another tool called Jira Align as well, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, how do you differentiate between, I mean, what
so
is
Jira
that
Align
you
uses
differentiate?
Jira Align uses Atlassian Analytics
Wow.
as the underlying tech. It is fundamentally, you could argue they are different, but the tech is the same. So it's the exact same thing.
Okay. So we are exploring on Jira Align as such. I mean,
so the Enterprise Insights product that is part of Jira Align is exactly the same tech.
Okay, but you call it in different way, Atlassian
It's a different product offering, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have Jira Align, I think you can be able to do all that you can do.
Yes, you should be able to do all of the things that Jira Align's underlying data offers, but the same level of, same set of functionality.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's two different products as such.
It's two different products. At some point, Jira Align will be a part of the merged product and won't be a standalone product. And at that time, you won't think of Jira Align Analytics as a separate capability. It will be a part of Atlassian Analytics.
Okay. And licenses are different, probably.
For
Licensing, I mean, if you have Jira Align, can you explore Jira Analytics this also?
I don't know the answer for that. Because, yeah, I don't know the answer. I'll need to find out unless somebody over here knows the answer.
No, you cannot do that actually. So when you have an enterprise license, automatically when you go to the products, it will show Atlassian Analytics so that you can use it. But Jira Align is a different application.
Yeah, it's a different standalone application.
Yeah, you need to purchase. And you know, to differentiate it, Jira Align and Analytics, right? Yeah. See, Jira Align, you can use your program app dashboard and you can portfolio dashboard, your enterprise dashboard. It's a something different, but you cannot do anything with a SQL. See, for example, if you have a hardcore SQL person who want to run the queries, from analytics it is possible. But tech is same, but there is a lot of differentiations you can get from the dashboards also.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that insight.
Any other questions, guys?
Any questions on Zoom?
Cool.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.
started coding. And I was like, all right, this is it. This is what it's about.
My name is Jackie Law. I'm a junior developer and I've been working at Atlassian for 8 months.
I'm Justine Davis and I'm the head of product marketing for Bitbucket Cloud.
My name's Jonathan Cronon. I'm the head of the PaaS team at Atlassian and I've been here a bit over 7 years.
The culture here is great. The values that we talk about.
What do you want? Whatever. I don't know. Okay, he has done a biggest sacrifice for the day. He skipped his desserts just to entertain you guys. So give him a big round of applause, guys. Woo!
Hey everybody. All right, so let's do a poll first. General trivia, Atlassian trivia. What? This is an Atlassian community event. Let's try that again. General trivia, Atlassian trivia, both. I heard both. No, so even I like general trivia, right? But since it's an Atlassian community event, otherwise Tamanna looks at me very, suspiciously and questions my motivations. So I'm going to do a very specific, again, I'm not creating these right now. These are all events that we've done in the past. And because my spirit brother, fun man Andy is here, I'm going to do the session that he lost. Yeah, but the people who beat you have also lost, so it's all right. So let's see. Let's start with an Atlassian question and see if you can find 2 Atlassian products in this word jumble. This is open for all Atlassians as well. Now this should be fun. Yeah, we have one answer. No, don't guess. Where do you see Forge, by the way? And just FYI, Forge is not a product of Atlassian, at least not yet. Andy, you should know. Sorry, who said Crucible? There it is, John knows. This is Crucible, that's right. There's one more product in there. Everybody is looking for Jira and Confluence. Let me help you, they're not there. There's no fisheye, again, no guessing. Please. That's right, Crowd. Crowd is there and Crucible is there. We had one at the back. All right, let me ask you another question from general trivia this time. So this character that I'm showing was portrayed by Robin Williams. That's right, Popeye the Sailor Man. That's from that movie. Good point. Oh, so this is a very fun question. I loved creating it. So there's something specific that I'm looking forward as an answer, okay? It's a meme, let me help you. There's a specific meme which is the answer to this question. It began in 2017 to make jokes describing the situation in which 2 people meet who are very similar. In 2022, the same got a real life version where 3 dash got together and did something. Doing what? Yeah, the Spider-Man pointing each other meme. Let me ask you a very amazing, simple question now. Name this Jira software feature. Sorry? Roadmap? No. Feature, not product. It's an add-on. I'm looking at the feature. What is this feature called? It's not called plan. That's right, it's called timeline. All right, let's ask a couple more Atlassian questions, I think. Or do you want general trivia? Both. All right, let me switch. And yeah. Let me see if I can do this one. All right. Connect these 4 emojis. That's right. It's a deck of cards. Suresh with the right answer. I think we should exclude Suresh from answering. Find 2 Jira features. Now you're thinking through all the features in Jira. Okay, versions. That's right, versions and filters. We had some person in the back. Oh, let's see if you can get. Let's see if you can get this one. Anytime the main character would crack a joke, they would say a catchphrase highlighting that the utterance was not true. It became very popular since 2011, and in 2011, Warner Brothers actually registered a trademark. Not Ant-Man. You looked at the image and said Ant-Man, didn't you?
Greenhopper?
No.
Greenhopper?
Not Greenhopper. I'm looking for something which was registered as a trademark by Warner Brothers. And Ant-Man is Marvel, by the way. That's right, Bazinga. So the buzzing of a bee is called Bazinga. In the show, it was Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory, his catchphrase. That's right. Let's see if you can tell me what we are talking about here. Assess, plan, prep, test, dash, and launch. Now, think more. I'll give you very, sorry?
Implement.
Implement, no. I'll give you a very nice hint, February 15th. Come on, February 15, 24. That's right, migrate, February 15th. Any server customer in the house would have a mini heart attack. Let's have this question. What is this? What is highlighted here or what is hidden here? This is Atlassian's official blog, let me tell you that. What's the Atlassian's official blog called? Do Atlassians know the answer? Oh, come on, Suresh. Rohit. That's right, work life. Who Googled? Who Googled the fastest? Work life is the official blog of Atlassian. All right. Okay, let me ask you this question. Robert Galbraith wrote these series of books. Why is Robert Galbraith famous? Or why is he famous? You all know Robert Galbraith. That's right. It's the pen name of J.K. Rowling, the creator of Harry Potter books. Well, very smart people in the house, guys. How much time do we have? Like 4 minutes. Okay, let me jump and see if I can find a couple more. Slideshow. Let's see if you can answer this one. Yes. Oh, do you wanna take Barry's picture? So we have guest quiz masters on the show, and Barry works for Old Street Solutions / Now Tempo. So I think Andy's there. You go. All right, let's see if you can get this answer. This is something that is smooth and frequently tapered. They are traditionally made of wood, bamboo, metal, ivory, and ceramics. Used in it's a skill that is to be mastered. Not origami. Close, but not origami. Good guess, I would say. It's considered etiquette if you follow this or use this. If you don't, it's frowned upon. That's right, chopsticks. Chopsticks is the right word. Oh, very simple question. Connect these following points. 2023 H2CO3, 1.6%, 242 billion to 238 billion. Not Corona. Any guesses? Okay. Not Apple's market share, but market share is a good line to think about. Okay, I'll give you more hint. This happened in 2020, because of which one company's share went dramatically down from 242 billion to 238 billion. It happened after the UEFA Cup. That's right, Ronaldo, Coca-Cola snub. Ronaldo removed the bottle and the Coca-Cola shares came crumbling down. All right, who can tell me the, simple, you don't have to read the whole thing. Who can tell me what the Mandalorian's real name was in the show? Pedro Pascal played that character brilliantly. What was his name? V. John? No, that's a shaving cream. It's Din Djarin. If you know, you know, that's kind of a question that was. Well, that's cool. Let's see if you can find two Atlassian acquisitions. Companies which were acquired by Atlassian. Now this would be tough because you would use those products but not know which were the companies that Atlassian acquired. Sorry? Ace. No, Ace is not a company. But Mindwell, that's a good guess. Who guessed Mindwell? That's right. What product did Mindwell make? Any guesses? That's right. Good guess. Another one. I'm looking for another one. No, Bloom is not there. And this was actually a quiz when Bloom was not acquired. Do you know anybody knows the parent company of Jira Align? Who made Jira Align? That's right, Agile Craft. They were the creators of Jira Align when Atlassian acquired them and pulled them in. All right, one final question because I think we are up on time. Connect the following images. Not every question is as easy, huh? Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's something to do with sports. Any guesses? Not tech question. That's why I'm specifically mentioning something to do with the world of sports. Football, to be precise. What's the connection? Tell me the connection, or what connects these things? Sorry? Yes. That's right. These are the types of kicks in football. It's a chip, it's a scissor kick, it's a bicycle kick, it's a rainbow kick. These are the kicks in football. Final question, I'm going to stop after this. Let's see if you can get this. Which product is featured here? Suresh, you're not allowed to answer. You might know this. It came into news recently. Not data lake. That's right, AirTrack, which was recently acquired again by Atlassian, and then it's now being mixed into something which we're all waiting to see how it looks like. With that, I stop. Let me also officially, before closing, show you this. There you go. This is the QuizWiz community. If you like trivia, join this community. Just Google atlassiancommunity.com/QuizWiz. We are right now in our semi-finals. We've just completed 22 rounds in this edition. There are final 4 matches which are going on. It usually happens on Wednesdays and Thursdays. If you're joining as a participant, you can play along live. And the next edition nomination will open in, I think, somewhere around March or April. And then you can participate also if you want. That's it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sajid, our emergency quiz master. Before we go into the next session, I have a quick announcement. So if you are not yet ACE member, so ACE is nothing but Atlassian community event. So if you're not yet ACE member, you can go to ace.atlassian.com and please sign up. And you can sign up for the Bangalore chapter, so that as your home ground, so that whenever Bangalore hosts an event, you will get a notification and be the first one to do a RSVP. How many of you are already Bangalore ACE members? Quite a few. And how many of you came from Meetup? Very few. So I think the meetup guys should now directly register to ace.atlassian.com so that you get the first-hand information. Okay? Yeah, thank you. So now I invite Nagaraj to proceed with the further events. Thank you.
Thank you, Girish. Now it's a good afternoon. So we have our next session. Make every release count with the power of release notes, which is again by Sujit, Pathak, and Ramesh. So please, welcome guys.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sujit Pathak. I'm a senior product manager from Amiboids Technologies. And I have with me today my colleague, our senior tech lead, Mr. Ramesh Rakshe. Amiboids is an Atlassian Platinum Marketplace partner, and we are based out of Pune. And we have come down to Bangalore to meet wonderful guys at Bangalore today. Okay. So our topic for today's this last session, before I begin my session, let me thank ACE Bangalore folks for giving us this opportunity, and also thank you to Atlassian folks who presented before the lunch. It is an honor to share a stage with them. So our topic for discussion today is how do we make our every release count with the power of release notes. So release notes is something this session is centered around, and it's basically divided into two parts. Initially, we will talk about the release notes in general, and in the later half, we'll talk about an app, a Jira add-on that Amiboids has built called Automated Release Notes for Jira, and we'll see how the release notes process in general can be automated using our Jira add-on. So before I begin, I want to quickly ask a few questions. How many of you guys have worked on release notes? Anyone? Yeah, I can see few hands up there. So we have a couple of questions for you guys who have raised your hands, and we have few swags to give away. So the first question is why one should write release notes? Yes, ma'am. Correct. So what she basically said is to define the scope for your end users, what they can expect from a particular software release. Anyone else want to attempt? Yes, sir. Yes. Sorry? Okay, I couldn't hear you. Can anyone pass on the mic? Sorry, I'm still not able to hear you.
We have release notes to define the deadline, and when to release it, we have the clarity on it.
Okay, that's a good point of view. Yes, ma'am.
You would not be able to fix all the defects and all. There could be some known defects and all, so that that will be captured in release notes. I mean, where the customer or the end user will be aware of it, and which can be fixed in the coming releases.
That's perfect. I think that's really sums up. So I would request Ramesh to give away swags to the three people who had answered this. My next question is who should write release notes from your team?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, so typically I think it's a delivery manager who gives the data, what is the details and everything. So that's where it goes out to the relevant stakeholders. So it's a delivery manager who collects all the details with the, say, Scrum team or the Agile team if you are working in. So that way I think we capture complete information, and that's what I do as a delivery manager generally. So yesterday I did give one software release actually, late night.
Yes, yes,
so.
I can understand. That's a good answer. Yes, sir. Anyone else want to add?
Build and release engineer, so they go with the release scopes and steps to perform the release.
Sorry, I didn't get it. So
I was talking about the build and release engineer who writes this release notes. Yeah.
So actually each Scrum Master collects from their own team what all defects are fixed and not fixed, and which of them are going into this release. Then finally the delivery manager combines them all then it also goes through localization, and finally it is released with the
Yeah,
post-production.
that's a pretty elaborative answer. So,
Yeah, actually, uh, this is generally responsibility lies on product owner,
okay.
who actually collaborate with all the stakeholders, internal and business stakeholders, to collect all the required information to release the product or MVP. So
Right.
that goes to
Okay.
product owner.
So we have three different answers: delivery manager, product owner, or a scrum master. There could be
Even team lead, whoever is having no, I mean, whoever is known in and out of the product, and what is the scope, whoever is not only delivery manager or product owner or product manager. So
Correct.
even anyone in the team member who knows very well how to produce the release notes and all, what is the scope. It's not only with the defects, what are the scope of the stories, requirements which is going for that release, for that particular release cycle. So these things will contain in these release notes.
perfect. So cutting short, now we are moving ahead. So the underlying is that there is no specific person who is assigned in every team who is going to write release notes. It depends on your team structure and how do you share the responsibilities. So we'll see these things in detail as we move further. So to start with, brief introduction to release note. What is release notes? So we had few replies earlier, like, it's basically defines the scope of the release. It is basically for our customers to know what they can expect from a particular release. Someone also answered that it defines, enlists the number of bugs that have been resolved. So it's basically, it's linked to your release, and whatever the changes that you are pushing through a particular release are generally expected to be included in a release note. Now it's a very generic and superficial definition. But if you go deeper, if you notice, release notes are not always external facing. In general sense, when we talk about release notes, we know that when you publish a release to production, you draft a document for your customers, end users, to understand what are the changes, new features that they can expect, what are the enhancement to existing features that they can expect, or what are the bugs that they have been facing, which have been tackled in this particular release. So this is a typically mostly widely used use case for the external facing, your end customers or your end users. But it's not limited to that. Release notes can also be inward facing. So you can also generate release notes for your QA team. So what are the things that the dev team has been working on, and what they can expect when the release is going to get pushed on the QA server. So they can start building test cases for those releases and planning their activities accordingly. You can have a release note document or draft for your customer success team or marketing team, so that they can start building some buzz around the new features that are going to get live in the next 1 month or 2 months, something like that. So release notes can be internal facing to your internal teams, or release notes can be external facing for your external users, end users, customers. So moving ahead, why write release notes? So we also had few replies on this question as well. So basically it helps users to understand what are the advantage of the new features that we are releasing, or to inform customers about the changes, about the bugs that have been resolved, or like I said, for your marketing team to orient their sales template accordingly to the new features that are getting launched, or your QA team, your dev teams can also have some insights around from the internal release notes documents, so that they can plan their activities accordingly. Who should write release notes? Like we saw even in this room, there are 3-4 different responses to this. Like I said earlier, it depends on your team structure. Anyone can write release notes. There could be someone who is going to drive the entire activity of release notes, let's say a product owner or a delivery manager who is in charge of driving the entire activity, but it is a collaborative effort. It is basically your QA teams who is going to give you the inputs. Let's say there is a product, a technical oriented product like an API. A product manager or a product owner who is from business side might not be able to write specifications or release notes for a technical product like an API. So he will or she will require a help from their QA team members or their dev team tech leads to understand what this change is all about, how do we present it to the end users so that they understand without getting into too much technical things, right? So one thing we need to keep in our mind is release notes is not a help document. It's different from help document. In help document, generally you go deeper into how to use a particular feature. But in release notes, it's a overview of all the changes that are getting, released in a particular release. So anyone from developer or a QA team member, from technical team member or a marketeer, product manager, anyone who is involved into the release can chip in and contribute towards building up those release notes documents when they are going to get distributed. Of course, like I said, there would be someone, depending on your team structure and team size, who is going to drive the entire activity. So whether it is a technical writer or a product owner, product manager, or a tech lead, engineering manager, scrum master, anyone will be there. Now, let's go deeper into what and how one should write release notes, what are the common mistakes that generally happen while writing release notes. Like I said earlier, release notes is not a help document. So you can't go too deeper into how to use a feature, but it's an overview where you should be answering questions on what is the new feature or what are the new changes. So you should be answering those what questions and not how questions into too deep into it. So basically they should not be too technical, too vague, too long, and they should not be hard to find. So let's see all these things one by one. Many times, especially when you are writing release notes for your end customers, end users, who may not be really well versed with the technical concepts, if you write release notes which are too technical in nature, they might not understand it, and they will just lose interest into it. So you should be keeping in mind while writing release notes who is the end user or who is going to be reading these release notes. If it is an end customer, end user, you have to be avoiding too much technical jargons and keep it simple, like what is the change, this is you can now do this instead of that, or this is no longer does that when doing something. So this type of language that you need to use so that it correctly and clearly suggests the change that you are talking about without going into too much detailed technical things. They are too vague. This is another common mistake that happens. To avoid this, what common practice that you can do is first start with the list of features or the bugs or anything or the changes that you want to showcase into your release notes. Because like I said, if you have a version created in Jira, let's say for a particular release, you might have around 100 tickets into that particular version. Not all tickets are going to get showcased into your release notes document. So you have to first shortlist those top 5, 10 issues that you need to showcase into your release notes. Because some are the in-sprint bugs, some are the very minor bugs that may not find a mention into external facing release notes. So you have to shortlist what are the issues or the features that you're going to showcase into your release notes. Then write down some bullet points around each of those features and bugs that you want to showcase into your release notes, and then go on revising them to come up with a very succinct and a very to the point short description of that particular change, so that it doesn't become very vague and it doesn't confuse your reader. While I'm saying that, like I mentioned that you shouldn't, the small bugs or in-sprint bugs are not going to get featured into your release notes. I'm talking about the external facing release notes. But if suppose you are writing release notes for internal stakeholder like a QA team member, you might require to focus on even those smaller bugs, because this is they need to focus on those things while in their QA efforts. So it all depends on who is going to consume your release notes, and keeping that in mind, you have to come up shortlist your issues and then start writing release notes for them. And the next point is they are too long. That is also a common mistake you might have seen in the release notes of some of the very popular applications. That sometimes, like I said, they are not help documents. You should not be showing up the step-by-step process of using a particular new feature. You should be just simply giving you the overview to the user that this is the new feature, this was the earlier behavior, and this is the new way in which you can do, and this is the advantage of doing it in the new way, or something like that. So they should not be too long and too vague, and they are hard to find. Many times people spend lot of efforts to come up with a very good looking and well drafted release notes document, but it is hard to find. Your users, your customers should find it right there within your application so that they can quickly go to that document and go through that. If it is there somewhere hidden into your help documentation space and they have to dig it down, clicking here and there, it will not serve its purpose, because as I said, it should be very easy to find. Again, it depends on the stakeholder for whom you are writing release notes for. For example, if you are writing release notes for your end customers, you might embed a particular in-app widget where quickly whenever you have a new release, you can showcase your release notes right there within an in-app widget for your end users. But let's say you are writing some internal facing release notes, you might want to publish them onto your internal Confluence documentation space. So this is where your internal users are used to go, and that place is much easier and perfect for them to find out release notes. So you have to keep in mind who is the end user, who is the stakeholder for whom you are writing release notes for, and choose the medium, choose the place where it's perfect for them to find it easily. So release notes should be easily accessible to the end user whom you are writing release notes for. So while we talked about don'ts, these are the simple best practices that one should write while writing release notes. I think we have pretty much covered everything from this, but just let's revise it. Keep it simple, show core value of the update to the end user, don't be too long and don't be too technical about it. Incorporate visual elements, because a GIF or an image or a video speaks louder than your words. So try to include visual elements as far as possible. Segment your release notes, like I said, based on your stakeholders, or even within your application, you can segment them module wise, so that people, if I want to see release notes for a particular module, what are the new features that have been released last 6 months, I can go to there and see those particular releases only. So you can segment your release notes accordingly and revise, because no draft is perfect. So you should be keep revising and keep practicing it. As you go ahead, you will get good at it. And relevant distribution channel. Like I mentioned, if it is for your customers, you can maintain a release notes release page or a release notes widget within your application. If it is for internal user, you can have a Confluence documentation space. If it is a high level, let's say you have a CTO who wants a high level summary of your release notes. They would want it, they would not want, they would want, he or she would want it delivered in their Slack channel or as an email. So you should be keeping in mind who is the stakeholder and choose the relevant distribution channel accordingly. Before I move ahead and hand it over to my colleague Ramesh, I want to just give you a small example of how a release notes can be custom made to the keeping in mind the end user. So if you see in our context, the version that they created in Jira was Smiling Buddha, and the release notes that was sent to a high-level executive who is probably the sponsor of the project was the Buddha is smiling. That's one-liner release note was enough for the end user to understand that the release has been done. So that's how particular and succinct you should be, so that keeping in mind who is the end user. Just imagine if the Prime Minister would have got a 10-page letter, what was the test about and how much fuel that was used and what were the technical details of the nuclear test that was done. It would be irrelevant. That the first question she or he would have asked is whether the test was successful. Tell me that point, whether we have become the nuclear powered nation or not. That's the question she wanted to answer, and that code message actually delivered that. So like I mentioned, you should be keeping in mind maybe maybe I think Dr. Homi Baba was in charge of the whole project at that time. I'm not completely sure, but he would have got a 10-page report from their scientists mentioning all the technical details, because he's like a CTO and he would want to go into those technical details, intricacies. So that release note document is pretty much different from that one that was sent to the Prime Minister. So that's how you should be keeping in mind who is the end user for whom you are writing release notes for. Now, when we are talking about so much about this release notes document, there are 3 parts or 3-step process generally that is involved. First one is you write release notes for each of the features or issues that you want to showcase into your release notes. Then you draft the release notes document. So if it is an email, then you have to draft an email. If it is a Confluence page, you have to come up with create a nice looking Confluence page, add some inline editing to it, add some images to it. If it is a, let's say, PDF document, then again you have to draft that document, align those fonts with your brand colors and all those stuff. So drafting is the second step, and third step is distribution. So like I mentioned, based on who is that really end user is and what is the best channel, distribution channel for that end user or the consumer of that release notes is, you have to choose the distribution channel and publish those release notes. The entire process of release notes in Jira especially can be automated using our application called Automated Release Notes for Jira. And to take it ahead from here, I would like to invite my colleague who is Senior Tech Lead, Mr. Ramesh Raksh. Thank you.
Hello. Hello everyone. Thanks Sujit for the context. I am Ramesh Rakshay, a technology lead from Amoeboids Technologies. So from the presentation, you guys get to know that how tedious, critical and time consuming writing the release notes are. So release notes, as Sujit told, the release notes categorize into the 3 steps. First is the writing the release notes, second one is the drafting, and third one is the actually distribution. So in case of draft, so every time your audience will or the recipients will not be same. Sometimes your recipients are the sales managers, those are actually interested in the hot features going live into the current release. Sometimes your recipients are the dev managers, those are most interested in what technical changes are there, what bug fixes are there in release note. So in distribution time, there are group of recipients, they need the release notes in different formats. So it is not like that if you draft the release notes in one format, that is applicable to all your recipients. So you have to draft them in various formats and then distribute it to the various recipients. So what if we automate all these steps, till from writing the release notes to the distribution? That is possible using our app, that is the automated release notes. So in automated release notes, for writing, the automated release notes is powered by AI. So you can use the AI feature to write the release notes. So you can use the prompts provided by us, or you can write your custom prompts. So you will get the release note generated, and you can store those into any Jira field, or you can use the existing Jira fields to writing those release notes. The second one is the drafting. So for drafting the release notes, we have various templates in our automated release notes app. So you can draft the release notes in PDF format, Word format. You can post those on any Confluence instance. If you want to send them on a particular channel like Slack, you can send it to a Slack channel, or you can post into the Microsoft Word or a social media platform like LinkedIn. Also, if you want to post it in a particular URL, a post URL like Zapier, you can post it and then you can use it in your application. Also, you can show the release notes on release pages. Also, these release notes can be embedded within your web applications as a widgets. So that is one important thing. And also you can send email in HTML format, in Markdown format. So these templates are used
to generate release notes in various formats. Now come to the third part, that is the distribution. So distribution is very important. As the name suggests, our app is automated release note, so minimum manual intervention is required for this. So you can automate the distribution also. So for that, there are three things. You can manually trigger the release notes, or you can have the automated triggers. So you can schedule jobs for a particular interval or a cron expression, or you can trigger the release notes after a particular event, like Jira version released, Jira sprint started. So whenever you release the version from Jira, that automatically trigger the rules and will send the release notes to the recipients. So these are the steps. You will have the templates. Within the templates, you will have the rules and actions. So rules will be triggered on a particular event, or you can manually trigger the rules, and then the actions within that rules will be executed. So what can be added within those actions? So let's come, before going to the next slides, in actions, you can add the various things that are actually our use cases. So in actions, you can add the post the release note in HTML or JSON format on a predefined URLs. As I already told you, we can send the release notes directly to the channel on the Slacks or MS Team. Also, you can send the release notes directly to your web application via widgets. So you can have your own release page with a custom URL. Also, you can show the release notes within your any web application in a widget format. Also, you can generate reports for Jira issues using this release notes app. So here you will use the power of JQL. So using JQLs, you can fetch the issues that you want to show onto the release notes, whether it is the PDF format, email, HTML, whatever it could be, or simply a Slack channel. And you can select the fields that you want to show within that document. So all that can be possible using this power of JQL feature. So apart from these use cases, there are various use cases. Using this, we can post the release notes, such as we have in-app widget release pages in Word format. We can send the release notes on a social media platform like LinkedIn. You can do the LinkedIn integration within the ARN app, and you can select on which company page you want to post the release notes, or you can simply post the release note on your personal LinkedIn account also. So all this is automated. You have to set up only once. Then whenever the rule will be triggered, it will automatically send the release notes to all action configured against that rule. Also, we can generate release notes in JSON format, PDF format, Markdown format. And one important feature is that we can post the release notes on Confluence pages. So you can integrate your Confluence instance with your Jira instance, ARN app, and you can select this proper space in which you will post your release notes, and what should be the title of page for your release notes. So whenever your version is released or your trigger will fired, it will create a page within that space and post the release notes on that page. So these are the use cases for our app. Let's go to the next slide. So you can download this app from Atlassian Marketplace. We also have a free app available on Atlassian Marketplace, so where the rule size and executions are limited for free app. So you can download for free from Atlassian Marketplace, play around it. If it meets your requirement, you can upgrade it to the paid version. Okay, this is about the ARN app, that is automated release notes. So I would again invite Sujit to conclude this session and the question answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Bye. Excuse. Hello. Okay. Thank you so much, Ramesh. So whatever the discussion that we had around release notes, we have created a nice looking ebook for that. You can scan this QR code. I'm sorry, I think it's and to download that that ebook. Like just one point that I want to add what Ramesh said. Like Ramesh mentioned about one point, like using a power of JQL. So since the release notes are generated from your Jira tickets, it's fetching data from your Jira tickets using JQL. So though the app is named as automated release notes for Jira, it's about release notes. It's not limited to release notes because of the power of JQL, you can use it to generate any kind of reports that can fetch that basically can fetch data from your Jira tickets and come up with a nice looking reports. So to just give you some simple use cases is, for example, let's say you have a weekly meeting scheduled on Monday morning 10 a.m. So you can schedule a rule within ARN app at 9 a.m. which will fetch the latest status of all the issues that you are currently working on and share it with your team on the channel that they are comfortable with, like an email or a Slack message, so that when you get into the meeting, you don't have to do any homework before getting into the meeting because you already have a ready-made report. You can just open that and discuss. So this is how the power of JQL can be used to generate any kind of report and automate distribution of those reports within your teams, not just for release notes purpose, but for any purpose, because using JQL, you can basically fetch any direct data from your Jira tickets. So I think we are coming to the end of this session. If you have any questions, we have a booth at the back. You can meet us after the session, or you can reach out to me on email sujit@amivoids.com, or also you can search me on LinkedIn, Sujit Pathak, Amivoids, and reach out to me there. Okay, we are looking into the questions from Zoom. To communicate changes, limitations, known issues. Okay, so these are the answers that were being provided to the questions that I asked. Okay. Anyone has any questions right now, or we can also connect over the booth?
You didn't tell us about the cost, how much it will be after that trial use, or what is the type of, is it enterprise edition or is it a cloud edition? Like, what are the different slabs you have?
So basically, there are standard slabs. I will not be able to immediately answer your question here, but you can see our marketplace listing. It's mentioned there. Generally, if you know already, Atlassian apps from Atlassian marketplace are built according to your Jira user tier. And you can see our Atlassian marketplace listing for the
Thank you.
Pricing. Please tell me how to get started with release notes. So the question has come up on Zoom. Could you please tell me how to get started with release notes? It's a question from Samia Nisar. So the question is simple, and like I said, there is a three-step process. First, you write release notes, then draft a document and distribute it. So for writing release notes, you have to first shortlist Jira issues from your version or your sprint, which need to be showcased into the particular release notes document. And once you shortlist them, you write release notes against each one of them. If you are using our app, you can use AI to come up with those first draft of your release notes using AI, and then just redraft them according to your need. Or you can write them yourself based on the details that are there in the Jira ticket. You may need help from your devs or QA members to come up with the first draft, and then you can go on revising so that make it presentable to the end audience that you are aiming at. So that's the first step to get started with about the release notes, and the second step is then compile all these release notes that you have written against each Jira issue into a single document. You can do it manually by exporting data from Jira to Excel and then come up with a document in Word or PDF, something like that if you have to do it manually. Or you can use an application like ARN to do it, to automate that particular thing. And the last part is distribution, where you actually deliver that particular document to the relevant stakeholder over the relevant communication medium, like an email or a Confluence page or a Slack message or a LinkedIn message or a PDF document into your Dropbox account, anything like that. Yes, sir.
How do we organize the files in different formats? Where do we organize exactly, and where we can find it?
So basically, in ARN app, basically you create those templates for each of this. Let's say you want to publish release notes in 3 different formats: PDF, Confluence, and email. So you create 3 templates in ARN app. So that templates are there, which are reusable templates. For every release, you don't have to edit or redraft your templates. This is a one-time activity. You create those templates according to your brand guidelines, do the editing into it, use some JQLs so that it will dynamically fetch relevant data after every release. So it's a one-time activity where you draft your templates. Once your templates are ready, after every release, you create a rule which will fetch data, use the particular template, fetch data for that particular release for which you are triggering the rule, and create the output. Now if it is an email action, then it will deliver that email template with the relevant data as an email. If it is a Confluence action, then it will create a Confluence page. Or if it is a, let's say, post action where you are posting your PDF document to your, let's say, repository like Dropbox, then it will create a PDF form of release notes document and post that PDF file to the relevant endpoint URL.
And can we link into Jira, the versions, everything?
Jira?
Can we link these release notes to Jira, like in the version or in the user stories, like whatever?
So we are actually working on that particular thing. So if you have noticed in Jira, recently they have allowed you to link related documents into version details page. So we are now currently working on where you can post release notes data generated from ARN to that related document section in Jira's version description details page.
Good. So I did make this disclaimer when I was announcing the free coupon code, where if you run into any tax problem, you need to create a support request. I hope people online are listening, and you can just go to support.atlassian.com, raise a request saying that, hey, I tried using this code and I've been asked for tax, and they will give you a response and alternative options there, okay? I hope this question is answered.
Any more questions?
All right. Okay, then as I said earlier, we are available at our booth, and there are few swags that are left to be grabbed. So you can reach out to us at the booth. We can discuss there. Thank you so much, everyone, for the patient listening. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Sujit and Ramesh, for that insightful session. So I would request you both to be on stage for some more time. Hi all, good afternoon. My name is Vishnu. I'm also one of the co-leads in Bangalore ACE chapter. I work with Big Four. I lead their technology operation for global advisory business. I've been co-leading Bangalore community for past 7 years almost, with Atlassian ecosystem since maybe 2008 or 9. Yeah, I missed my introduction, so just covering that as well. So I request Tamanna, our community manager from Bangalore, to be on stage to so we do have a few token of appreciation for the speakers today. So I would request Tamanna to hand it over to the speaker. So I'll be calling up these names. Sujit, Ramesh, I would also request Suresh, Rohit, and Srinivas from Atlassian on to be on stage. All right, thank you, Tamanna. So how was the session? Hope you all like it. It was helpful. I'm here to express the word of thanks, but before that, I have a few things. One, if you have any feedback on this event or the event we had in the past from Bangalore chapter, you'll be getting a feedback link after the event kicked off by Tamanna and team. Feel free to add your feedback there. That's going to help us to improve the quality of service we offer to you. All right, so we would also have a group session, like a photo session after this. And we would also have a few group photos taken for the community leaders and managers with speakers as well, so please be available for that. I'm seeing this much huge crowd in a hall, maybe second time in my life. First time was in marriage day, second day is this day, right? So it's so huge. So do you know how many people are here? So we have 220 plus people in the hall now. And we also had 30 people joining virtually. So that was the all-time highest number we had so far for Bangalore chapter. Kudos to you all. So this also recorded 2,200 plus people in Bangalore chapter so far. Kudos to you all again. And like I said, this is the maximum attendees we had so far for the Bangalore chapter. And how do you summarize the topic? So it was, I feel like, completely data-driven, supercharging, and maybe it made sure that every point counted towards the wonderful journey, right, learning journey. Kudos to all the speakers, and also Sajid Nair, who ignited our mind with the wonderful skill sessions. And Sajid, I remember like you called me to be part of one of the session. I'm glad that I could decline that because I had some other personal thing. I didn't even know the one of the question to know the answer was, I couldn't answer even one of the question. Good that I didn't participate. And I will make sure I will not do that again, even if you call me. But thank you for that. It was really igniting. I would also appreciate all the speakers, Rohit Eddy, Srinivas Ravu, Suresh Raman from Atlassian. Let me also thank Sujesh Pathak, Ramesh Rakshay from team Amiboards. Also my super team, Nagaraju and Girish, who's been running the show since we announced the event, right? So thank you so much, team, for hosting this and co-hosting us. And I also want to express the sincere gratitude to our very own community manager, Tamanna. She's been supporting us the way she can, right, from the beginning, right? So thank you, Tamanna, and your team. Let me also thank Atlassian and our co-sponsor, Amiboards, for sponsoring or co-sponsoring the event. It wouldn't have been possible without your support. Special thanks to our community leaders who all flew from other cities like Sajid, Auntie, John, and Sanket. Even though you know how terrible the Bangalore traffic you all flew, so I appreciate the courage. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let me also thank Robert and team, so who set up all these technical things, right? Your audio, video. Yep, thank you so much, team, Robert and his crew, and who also took care of the registration desk. Appreciate them. Let me also thank Prashant and his crew from Courtyard by Marriott for serving the delicious food as well as providing the venue. At last but not least, our super amazing community members, you all, as well as who are joined virtually today. Thank you so much for making this to happen. Thank you so much for joining us, even for spending all your Saturday's personal time. Appreciate that. And thank you so much again, everybody. Even if I missed anybody's name, it's not intentionally. Thank you so much. And until we meet again. So we host these events almost every month. Please join us again. Yeah, like I said, we do have group pictures from here, right? We can't accommodate everybody on the stage. So we'll do a groupie, if that's what it calls, right? Yeah. All right, thanks again, team. Until we meet again, see you.